Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live.
The 12th of November 1899, Volume 3. Jesus allows Louisa to spare a chastisement. This morning my lovable Jesus came and transported me outside of myself, and I saw as if something was supposed to move from the heavens and touch the earth. I was so frightened that I screamed, and I said to him, oh please, Lord, what are you doing? How much ruin will come if this happens? You tell me that you love me, and then you want me to be frightened. You have seen it, haven't you? Don't do it. No, you cannot do it, for I do not want it. And Jesus, all compassion for me, told me, my daughter, do not fear. And then when have you ever wanted me to do anything? I should not let you see anything when I chastise the people, otherwise you bind me everywhere. Well then, I will fortify your heart with fortitude, and I will make as though a trunk arise from it, so as to hold whatever you see still. And then I will pour so many graces in you as to be able to nourish myself and my children. At that moment, something like a trunk came out of my heart, with two branches at the top in the shape of a fork, which, rising up in the air, would catch in between them anything that was about to move, so that it would keep still in one single point, and far away it seemed to touch the earth. Afterwards I found myself inside myself, and I prayed him to placate himself, and it seemed that he would surrender, so much so that he shared with me the pains of the cross. Then he disappeared. End of the reading. The 12th of November 1906, Volume 7. The soul gives Jesus a dwelling in time, and he gives it to the soul in eternity. Continuing in my usual state, I was saying to Blessed Jesus, oh, how I wish to love you, to be loved more by you. And he in my interior told me, I love you so much that I never leave you, and I dwell in you continuously. And I, thank you for your benignity indwelling in me. But I am not so content. I would be more content and would feel safer if I could dwell in you. And he, my daughter, in time you give a dwelling to me, and in eternity I will give it to you, and be well content, and sure that the one who dwells in you has the power to maintain your dwelling fortified and free of any danger. End of the reading. 12th of November 1920, Volume 10. As many as are the ways in which the soul gives herself to God, so many are the ways in which he gives himself to the soul. I was thinking about Blessed Jesus when he was carrying the cross to Calvary, especially when he met with Veronica, who offered him a piece of cloth so that he might dry his face, all dripping with blood. And I said to my lovable Jesus, my love, Jesus, heart of my heart, if Veronica offered you a cloth, I don't want to offer you the little cloth to dry your blood, but I offer you my heart, my continuous heartbeat, all my love, my little intelligence, my breath, the circulation of my blood, my movements, all of my being to dry your blood, and not only from your face, but from all of your most holy humanity. I intend to tear myself into as many pieces, for as many as are your wounds, your sorrows, your bitternesses, the drops of the blood you shed, so as to place on all of your sufferings, on some my love, on some a relief, on some a kiss, on some a reparation, on some an act of compassion, on some a thanksgiving, etc. I do not want any little particle of my being, any drop of my blood, to be left without occupying itself with you. And do you know, O Jesus, what I want as recompense? Then in all of the tiniest particles of my being, you impress and seal your image, so that in finding you in everything and everywhere, I may multiply my love. And so forth with all the other nonsense I said. Now, having received communion and looking into myself, I could see in each particle of my being the whole of Jesus within a flame. And this flame spoke of love. And Jesus said to me, "Here is my daughter made content. As many as are the ways in which she has given herself to me, so many and tripled are the ways in which I give myself to her." End of the reading. The 12th of November 1921, Volume 13. The sanctity in the divine will has no boundaries. It is the sanctity closest to the Creator. It will have primacy over all other sanctities and will be their life. The divine will is the eternal miracle that never ends. I write only to obey, otherwise I would not be good at writing a single word. Only the fear that I might sadden my sweet Jesus if I did not do it gives me the stamina and strength. Now he continues to speak to me about his most holy will, and upon coming he said to me, "My daughter, the sanctity in my will is not yet known. This is the reason for their surprise. In fact, when something has been known, the surprise ceases. All sanctities are symbolized by something which is spread in the creation. There are sanctities symbolized by mountains, others by trees, others by plants, the little flower, the stars, and many other similes. All of these sanctities have their own limited and individual good. They have their beginning and also their end. They cannot embrace everything and do good to all, just as a tree or a flower cannot do so. Now, the sanctity in my will be symbolized by the sun. The sun has always been and will always be, and even though it had a beginning in illuminating the world, however, since it is light, which takes its origin from my eternal light, one can say that it has no beginning. The sun does good to all. It extends to all with its light. It makes no exception with anyone. With its majesty and dominion, it rules over all and gives life to all, even to the tiniest flower, but silently, without noise, and almost unobserved. Oh, if a plant did a little something, a shadow of what the sun does, giving heat to another plant, all would shout miracle. All would want to see it and would speak about it with amazement. But then the sun gives life and heat to everything and is the continuous miracle, and nobody talks about it. There is no amazement. This happens because man keeps his eyes always down below and toward earthly things, never up high toward celestial things. Now the sanctity in my will, symbolized by the sun, will come out from the center of my own sanctity. It will be a ray delivered by my sanctity, which has no beginning. Therefore these souls existed in my sanctity. They exist and will exist. They were together with me in the good I did. They never went out of the ray in which I had delivered them to the light. Since they never departed from my will, I amused myself with them, and I still do. My union with them is permanent. I see them floating over everything. Human supports do not exist for them, just as the sun does not lean on anything. It lives up high as though isolated, but with its light it encloses everything within itself. The same for these souls. They live up high like the sun, but their light descends to the lowest bottom and extends to all. I would feel as if I defrauded them if I did not keep them aware and did not let them do what I do. Therefore there is no good which does not descend from them. In this sanctity I see my shadows, my images, flying over the earth. in the air and in heaven. This is why I love and will love the world, because I am waiting for my sanctity to have its echo over the earth, and for my rays to come out to the light, giving me complete glory, returning to me the love and the honour which the others have not given to me. Therefore, just like the sun, they will be the most unobserved, without clamour at all. And if anyone will want to look at them, my jealousy will be such that they will run the risk of remaining blinded and will be forced to lower their eyes in order to regain their sight. Do you see how beautiful is the sanctity in my will? It is the sanctity closest to your Creator. This is why it will have primacy over all other sanctities. It will enclose within itself all other sanctities together and will be life of all other sanctities. What a grace it is for you to know it, to be the first light solar ray to come out from the centre of my sanctity without ever detaching from it. Greater grace I could not give you, more portentous miracle I could not operate in you. Be attentive, my daughter, my ray, because every time you enter into my will and operate, it happens as when the sun hits the glass. Many suns are formed in it. In the same way, you repeat my life many times. You multiply it and give new life to my love. After this, I was thinking to myself, in this holy will one cannot see miracles and those portentous things for which creatures are so greedy and would go around half the world in order to have some of them. On the contrary, everything passes between the soul and God, and if creatures receive good, they don't know where it came from. It really is like the sun, which while it gives life to all, nobody points out at it. Now, as I was thinking of this, Jesus coming back added, but with an imposing look, What miracles, what miracles! Isn't perhaps doing my will the greatest miracle? My will is eternal, and is the eternal miracle that never ends. It is the miracle of every instant in which the human will has a continuous connection with the divine will, raising the dead, giving sight to the blind, and the like, are not eternal things. They are subject to perish. They can be called shadows of miracles, fleeting miracles, compared to the great and permanent miracle of living in my will. You do not pay attention to those miracles. I know when they are appropriate and needed. End of the reading. The 12th of November 1925, Volume 18. How one who is called to be the head of a mission must enclose all the goods pertaining to that mission in order to communicate them to others. It is the usual way of the eternal wisdom to establish the acts of the creature in order to give completion to the good which it wants to do to her. I was fusing myself in the holy divine volition according to my usual way, and my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, clasped me all to himself, placated himself in the act of giving me a lesson and correction, and told me, My daughter, be attentive in doing your acts in my will. You must know that for one who is called to be the head of a mission, the more he encloses of the good pertaining to that mission, the more good he will be able to communicate to others. Those goods will be like many seeds which he will lend to others, so that whoever has the fortune of wanting to acquire those seeds may become the possessor of the harvest of those seeds. This happened in Adam, who being the first man was constituted the head of all generations, and he being the head, it was necessary for him to possess the seeds in order to give to others what is necessary for the development of human life. Regardless of the fact that these seeds have been expanded, dilucidated, known more, according to the goodwill of the following generations, to capacity and the application they have used over these very seeds, Nevertheless, Adam had them all within himself, and it can be said that everything comes from him. So it can be said that, in being created by God, he was endowed with all sciences. What others learn with so many efforts he possessed as gift in a surprising way. So he possessed the knowledge of all the things of this earth. He had the science of all plants, of all herbs, and of the virtue which each of them contained. He had the science of all species of animals, and of how he should use them. He had the science of music, of singing, of writing, of medicine, in sum of everything. And if the generations possessed each one of its special science, Adam possessed them all. See then how it is necessary for one who must be the head to enclose within himself all the good which he must share with others. The same with you, my daughter. Since I have called you as the head of a special mission more than a new Adam, and here it is not about human sciences, but about the science of sciences, which is my will, science of all heaven. I want you to enclose within yourself all the seeds which my will contains, and the more acts you do in it, and the more knowledges you acquire, the more rays of light you will place on the sun of my will, so that with greater fullness of light it will be able to diffuse more for the good of the generations, in such a way that, stirred by the fullness of light, they will be able to know with greater clarity the good which my will contains, what it means to live in it, and the great good with which they are enriched. It will happen as with the sun, which, because it possesses great fullness of light, can easily take the whole earth as though in its power, warm it, illuminate it, and fecundate it, in such a way that all may know, some more, some less, the good it does by bringing its light to all. But if the sun, in the height of its sphere, were poor in light, the light which descends down below would not fully illuminate the earth. At the most, some small portion of the earth which rotates closer to the sun. And if to the sun, which was to illuminate the earth naturally, I gave such fullness of light for the good of all generations, much more do I want to fill with fullness of light the sun of my will, which must illuminate souls, warm them, and cast them into the fecundity of the seed of divine sanctity. Just as I chose Adam as the head, just as I chose a point in the heavens in which to fix the centre of the sun, which was to illuminate the earth, so did I choose you as the centre of the sun of my will. And the fullness of light must be so great that all may be able to enjoy it and be invested by this light, and each one may make it his own. This is why your complete acts in my will are needed, as well as the knowledge which I keep manifesting to you in order to form the fullness of this light. It is the usual way of the eternal wisdom to establish the acts of the creature in order to give completion to the good which it wants to do to her. So it happened for the coming of redemption upon earth by the eternal word. It took the course of 4,000 years. During this time all the acts which creatures were to do in order to dispose themselves to earn the great good of redemption had been established, as well as all the graces and knowledges which the Supreme Majesty was to give in order to make known that same good which the descent of the Word would bring into their midst. And so here come the patriarchs, the Holy Fathers, the prophets, and all the good of the Old Testament, who with their acts were to cover the way, the staircase, in order to reach the fulfillment of the longed-for redemption. But this is not enough. As good and holy as their acts were, there was the so very high wall of original sin, which maintained the division between them and God. This is why a virgin was needed, conceived without original sin, innocent, holy, and enriched by God with all graces, who made all the good acts of the course of 400 years as though her own. she covered them with her innocence, sanctity, and purity in such a way that the divinity would see those acts through the acts of this innocent and holy creature, who not only embraced all the acts of the ancients, but surpassed them all with her own. And this is why she obtained the descent of the Word upon earth. It happened to all the good acts of the ancients, as to one who has much gold and silver, but the image of the king, which gives the value of money to that precious metal, is not impressed on it. So even though it contains value in itself, it cannot be called value of money, which can circulate in the kingdom with the right of currency. However, suppose that gold or silver were acquired by the king, and that, giving it the shape of coins, he impressed his image upon them. Here is the right of currency acquired by that gold. So the Virgin did. She impressed her innocence, her sanctity, the divine will which she possessed as whole, upon them. She presented them all together to the divinity, and she obtained the longed-for Redeemer. So the Virgin completed all the acts which were needed in order to make the Word descend upon earth. But this was not the end, so that the Redeemer might have his field of action upon earth, and whoever wanted to might use those acts as coins with which to purchase heaven for himself. The imprint of innocence, of sanctity, and of the divine will was needed, and the imprint of the operating of the Word himself was needed in order to make man rise to heaven. If that of the Virgin was enough to make me descend into the midst of creatures, in order to make man rise, my divine operating was needed. And so this is why I embraced all those acts, and I made them my own. I made up for all. I accomplished everything, and for all I placed the divine imprint on all the good acts, from the first to the last man who is to come upon earth. And this imprint was made by me with unheard of pains, and with the shedding of my blood. And so, like magnanimous king, I gave to all the coins with which to purchase heaven for themselves. All this had been established by the uncreated wisdom, and not even one act of all this could be missing in order for redemption to take place. Now, my daughter, just as it was with redemption, so will it be with my will. In order to make it known and to make it reign as prime act of life in the creature, the fulfillment of the acts is needed. You too, on the example of my celestial mamma and of mine, must embrace in my will all the acts done in the Old Testament, those of the Queen of Heaven, those done by me, those which are done and will be done by all the good and the saints up to the last day. And upon each one of them you will place your seal of requital of love, of blessing, of adoration, with the sanctity and the power of my will. Nothing must escape you. My will embraces everything. You too must embrace everything and everyone, and place my will alone at the first place of honour upon all the acts of creatures. It will be your imprint with which you will imprint the image of my will on all the acts of creatures. Therefore your field is vast. I want to see you in my will, flowing over all the graces and the prodigies which I did in the Old Testament, to give me your requital of love and of thanksgiving, and in the acts of the patriarchs and prophets to make up for their love. There is not one act in which I do not want to find you. I would not be satisfied nor content if I did not find you in all the acts of creatures which have been done and will be done. Nor would you be able to say that you have completed everything in my will. You would lack something of the true living in my will. Therefore be attentive if you want the fullness of light to be enough as to be able to illuminate all peoples with the sun of my will. One who wants to give light to all must embrace all as though in one single embrace, by making himself life and substitution of everything and of everyone. Is my will perhaps not life of everything? And is this life not requited with so many bitternesses? Is there not the need then for one who would flow in everyone in order to sweeten these bitternesses by substituting as act of life with my own will for each act of the ungrateful creature? End of the reading.
I surrender humbly at his feet I bow. Worldly pleasures all forsaken, take me, Jesus, take me now.
The 12th of November 1937, Volume 35. One act done in the divine will loves God for everyone, giving him all that the creature owes God. One who lives in my Fiat gives us the opportunity to repeat our works in action. How God wants to operate one-on-one, the I love you jewel of God. The divine volition continues to inundate me with its light, which unleashes a power so great as to form such prodigies in the acts of the creature that one remains enraptured. It really shows the creative power which encloses all and does everything in the little human act. O power and love of the divine will, how insuperable you are! Your power conquers all. Your love is incredible. Then my adorable Jesus, who wants that the unheard of prodigies that his divine fiat can do in the creature may be understood, visiting my little soul, told me, Daughter of my will, the flames of my love are such that I feel suffocated, and to be able to unleash my love which makes me burn and fidget, I come back to say what my will can do in the creature. For my will to reign, one must know who it is, the extent of its love, what its power is, and what it can do. Now listen. As the creature gives it the freedom to operate, it calls its immensity and power and encloses everyone and everything in that act. Our divinity receives in that act the love of each creature. We hear in that act the voices and the heartbeats of all hearts saying to us, we love you, we love you. She gives us the adoration of each one and everything that they owe to their Creator. She animates everything, and we hear in that act even the sun, the heaven, the stars, the whole of creation saying, we love you, we adore you, we glorify you. Therefore, we receive everything from our will operating in the creature. Our love for each creature is returned and our glory is complete. Our will can give us everything, although it uses the act of the creature. So, taken by love toward the one who let it operate in her act, it says, I give you all, my daughter. I place you before our Supreme Majesty as the one who loved us for each and every one, who gave us glory and adoration for all, who made us loved even by the sun, the heaven, the whole of creation harmonized, and all created things were saying among themselves, love, love to our Creator. Therefore I give you the merit for everything. All is yours. My will is just not capable or willing to operate unless it encloses all and does everything. I remained surprised and I said to myself, is it possible? Is all this really possible? And my Jesus added, my daughter, don't be surprised. One single act of my will is greater than heaven and earth. Its immensity has no boundaries. Its power has no limit. It has everything and everyone in its hands. It operates with infinite love that can give love for all. And after it has love for all, oh, how much of it is left? Our love is perfect, First we love ourselves, we secure our interests, our glory and our love. Then we descend in the creatures, loving in them with our own love, glorifying ourselves with our very works. Who doesn't think of himself first? Therefore, whether our will operates within ourselves or in the creatures, first it has to give to us by right what is due to us and befits us for all and for each one. Then the creatures will receive according to their disposition. After this, I continue to be inundated by the waves of the divine volition, waves of light, crammed with truths and love, wanting to make known its prodigies, its power, and what it wants to give to the creature. So I was following its act of creation, to make them mine, and to be able to say, what belongs to Jesus is mine too. My always adorable Jesus, coming back, continued, daughter of my will. As the creature goes back into our works, longing for them, loving them, and making them her own, our love makes us run toward her, to welcome her to us and renew our works for her alone, as if we were in the act of repeating them. We centralize all our love in her, as well as our power, our joys, and the stratagems and follies of love that we felt in creating and delivering the whole of creation. So, in our emphasis of love, we look at her and we find the heaven and the love we felt in laying its blue vault. Then we look at her again and we find the variety of stars, while she gives to each one of them her voice to make them say, I love you, I love you, I love you. These voices of I love you form the most beautiful celestial music, and its harmony and sweet sound are such that we feel inebriated. And in our inebriation we tell her, daughter, how beautiful you are. You bring us infinite joys. Not even when everything was created did we receive such melodies and joys, because a creature was missing, who united to our will would make our work say to us, I love you, I love you, I love you. At the sight of such a show of love, we renew the creation of the sun, the wind, the sea, and the earth, centralizing the sea and the air, centralizing in her all our love and divine harmony that we felt in creating all these elements. Oh, what a joy for us, and what a return of love she gives us. Looking at her, we find a sun that burns for love of us, wind that blows and moans for love, and forming the arcane voices of love, tries to surround us with its love, to tell us, you loved me and I love you. Love you gave to me, love I give to you. And it forms impetuous waves with its sea, to the extent of giving us air of love for each breath of creature. We feel as though being wounded continuously and fainting for her love. A soul who lives in our will is all for us. She keeps us constantly busy. She always loves us, but with our own love. Each time she does her acts in our fiat, we renew the works of creation. And to amuse ourselves, love her and make her love us, we use every act she does as material to renew our various created works. And yet our love is not satisfied, it wants to add more. So it creates new prodigies of grace and even our very life within the beloved creature. We like very much to operate one-on-one as if we were doing everything for her alone. This makes more love, esteem and appreciation rise toward us who love her so much. Therefore, depending on how she unites to us, we renew those works. If she unites in the works of creation, we renew our works of creation. If she unites to our works of redemption, we renew the works of redemption. So I repeat the act of my birth, and looking at her, I find my birth in her, as well as the love for which I was born, while she loves me with that same love with which I came upon earth. Do you think it's a trivial thing that I find my own love which made me be born, cry, suffer, walk and work? Together with her, one on one, I repeat my life down here, and my divine will makes her love me with the same love with which I loved her when I was on earth, living my redemptive life. Therefore, living in my will is everything for the creature, everything for us. Then I was following the acts of the divine volition in its works, and I was thinking to myself, what would be a greater glory for God, to follow the acts of creation or those of redemption? And Jesus coming back added, my daughter, both of them are greatly pleasing to me, but there is a difference. In the works of creation, the creature finds our majesty in feast, while creating many things with the primary purpose of serving our will reigning within her. All created things had to serve as a deposit for her return of love, adoration, and glory toward us. All created things speak of our love toward the creatures, and the creature, through them, was supposed to love her Creator. You must know that each one of your I love yous, that you hide in the sun, in heaven, and in the other created things, is a jewel for us. We love them, we kiss them, we hug them and delight in them. We feel glorified and repaid for all that we have done. Do you think we remain indifferent to your many I love yous with which you've invested the creation? Not at all. We look at them one by one as our jewels. They give us the glory we had during creation. Therefore let our feast continue. And if these I love yous cannot be seen other than by ourselves, it is because our will, immense also in the creation, eclipses with its light your I love yous, keeping them jealously hidden inside its womb. It happens as to the sun, whose light and heat are greater and more intense than all the precious effects contained within it. They cannot be seen, but it is certain that the sun possesses these effects. In fact, if its light touches the flower, it gives colour to it, painting, like an artist, the variety of beauties of the colours, so as to form the sweetest enchantment for the human generations. If it touches the plants and the fruits, it gives the variety of sweetnesses and tastes. This shows how the sun is not only light and heat, but it hides other goods inside its womb of light. Such is the creature who lives in our will. As she loves and adores, she forms the beauty of her rainbow of love in her works, the variety of joys and sweetnesses of her good acts, which she jealously hides within her womb. My will is the hiding place for love and for all that the creature does in it, forming the most beautiful ornament to our divine works and the sweet enchantment of our eyes. And we are so pleased that we show this to the whole celestial court, to let them delight together with us. Therefore the creature cannot give us greater glory than following our acts of creation, because in doing so she unites herself to our same purpose. She braids herself to our love, and we feel her kissing our love, while we kiss her own, making one single love out of it. What joy, what happiness, having the creature together with us, loving us, and doing all that we want to do. Now in redemption, the purpose is different. It's the guilty man that we go searching for. In the creation, all was a feast. Our works were smiling at us with joy, love, and glory. Instead, in the redemption, sufferings, bitterness, tears, remedies, medicines to restore man. But the creature, by entering our will, can invest all my pains, bitterness, and tears with her tender and compassionate I love yous, hiding within them her jewel I love yous. So in kissing these jewels, not only will I feel comforted, sustained, and accompanied by the one who lives in my will, but in the jewels of her I love yous, I will also find the one who dries my tears, who shares my pains, who defends me. Therefore, I want you always in my will, so whether in feast or in sufferings, I will always keep you with me. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.